You know, there's something profound happening right now in your life, and you might not even realize it. Every single moment that you spend worrying, stressing, and anxious about tomorrow is a moment that you're missing the miracle of today. And here's what I want you to understand with absolute clarity. Stress is not your natural state. It's not who you are at your core. It's something you've learned, something you've practiced, and most importantly, something you can unlearn. When we talk about what God says, what the universe whispers to us, what that infinite intelligence that created everything is trying to communicate, the message is crystal clear. Stop stressing. But we don't listen, do we? We wake up in the morning, and before our feet even touch the floor, our minds are racing with all the things that could go wrong, all the problems we need to solve, all the responsibilities weighing on our shoulders. And in doing so, we completely miss the point of being alive. Let me tell you something that changed my entire perspective on life. Stress is nothing more than a choice. I know that might sound controversial, and you might be thinking, but you don't understand my situation. You don't know what I'm going through. And you're right, I don't know your specific circumstances. But what I do know is this. Between every event that happens in your life and your response to it, there's a space. In that space lies your power to choose. And stress is simply choosing to believe that things should be different than they are. Think about it for a moment. What is stress, really? It's resistance to what is. It's the gap between your expectations and reality. It's wanting things to be different so badly that you make yourself sick over it. But the divine intelligence that runs through everything, that beating heart within you, that breath that breathes you even when you're asleep, it's saying something different. It's saying trust. It's saying flow. It's saying, I've got this. You see, we live in a world that teaches us to stress. We're taught that if we're not worried, we're not responsible. If we're not anxious, we're not prepared. If we're not stressed, we don't care enough. But that's the biggest lie we've ever been sold. Stress doesn't make you more responsible. It makes you less effective. It clouds your judgment, weakens your immune system, and separates you from the very source of wisdom and creativity that you need to solve your problems. God, the universe, the Tao, whatever name resonates with you for that infinite creative force, is continuously trying to guide you toward peace. But you can't hear the guidance when you're drowning in stress. It's like trying to see the bottom of a lake when you keep throwing rocks into it. You have to let the water settle. You have to stop stirring up all that debris with your worried thoughts and fearful projections. Here's what most people don't understand about stress. It's always about something that either already happened or hasn't happened yet. Think about that. When you're stressed, you're either ruminating about the past or projecting fear into the future. You're never stressed about this exact moment, right here, right now. Because in this moment, as you're reading these words, breathing in and out, you're actually okay. The stress exists in your mind's interpretation of what was or what might be, but never in what is. The divine message is so simple it's almost comical that we miss it. Be here now. Be present. Stop living in the mental construct of past and future and come back to this moment. Because this moment is all you ever have. This moment is where life happens. This moment is where peace resides. This moment is where God meets you. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, but I have real problems. I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. I have people depending on me. And yes, you do. But stress doesn't pay your bills. Worry doesn't fulfill your responsibilities. Anxiety doesn't help the people who depend on you. In fact, it does the opposite. When you're stressed, you make poor decisions. You snap at the people you love. You miss opportunities because you're too busy worrying to see them. You create the very outcomes you're afraid of because you're operating from a place of fear rather than wisdom. What if I told you that there's a way to handle all of your responsibilities, face all of your challenges, and deal with all of life's difficulties without stress? Would you believe me? Because it's true. You can be responsible without being stressed. You can be prepared without being anxious. You can care deeply without making yourself sick over it. The key is understanding that you are not separate from the creative force that orchestrates the entire universe. The same intelligence that grows your fingernails, beats your heart, and heals your wounds is available to you for every challenge you face. But you block that intelligence when you insist on controlling everything through the force of your worried mind. Stress is a form of arrogance when you really think about it. It's saying, I know better than the universe. I know how things should be. I need to force this outcome because I can't trust the process. But look at nature. Does a tree stress about whether it will have enough leaves? Does a bird worry about where its next meal will come from? Does the sun fret about whether it will rise tomorrow? No. They trust. They flow. They align with the natural rhythm of life. And they flourish. You are part of that same nature. You come from that same source. The divine spark within you is not separate from the divine intelligence that runs everything. When you stress, you're literally working against yourself. You're trying to swim upstream against the current of the universe. And the message from that infinite source is always the same. Turn around. Flow with me. Trust me. Let go. Letting go doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean you don't take action. It means you take inspired action rather than desperate action. It means you respond to life rather than react to it. It means you do what you can do in this moment and then release your attachment to the outcome. Because here's the truth. You're not in control of outcomes anyway. You never were. The only thing you control is your response to what is. When you truly accept that, when you really let it sink in, there's this incredible sense of relief. It's like you've been carrying a backpack full of rocks for years, and suddenly you realize you can just set it down. All that stress, all that burden, it's self-imposed. Nobody's making you carry it. You've just convinced yourself that you have to. God's message is that you don't have to. You can choose peace, right now, in this moment, regardless of your circumstances. Because peace is not dependent on your circumstances. Peace is your natural state when you stop resisting what is and align yourself with the flow of life. Let me share something with you about how this works practically. When you have a problem, when you face a challenge, when something happens that you don't like, you have two choices. You can either stress about it, which means you're adding the suffering of resistance to the challenge itself. Or you can accept it, which means you acknowledge what is without making yourself sick over it, and then you take whatever action you can take from a place of clarity and peace. The interesting thing is that the second approach not only feels better, it actually works better. When you're peaceful, you're creative. When you're stressed, you're reactive. When you're trusting, you're open to solutions. When you're anxious, you're blind to opportunities. The universe is always offering you guidance, always presenting you with possibilities, but you can't receive them when you're vibrating at the frequency of stress. Think of it this way. Every cell in your body is listening to your thoughts. Every emotion you feel sends chemical messages throughout your entire system. When you stress, you literally poison yourself. Your body goes into fight or flight mode. Your cortisol levels spike. Your immune system weakens. Your digestion shuts down. Your heart races. Your blood pressure rises. And for what? For a mental construct. For a story you're telling yourself about something that might happen or something that already happened. But when you choose peace, when you trust, when you align with the divine message of letting go, your entire physiology changes. Your parasympathetic nervous system engages, your body heals, your mind clears, your heart opens. And from that state, you're capable of so much more than you ever could be from a state of stress. Now, I want to address something important. Choosing peace doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're indifferent. It doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, it's the opposite. It takes tremendous strength to remain peaceful in the face of challenges. It takes real courage to trust when everything in your conditioned mind is screaming at you to worry. It takes genuine power to let go of control and flow with life. The divine is not asking you to be a doormat. It's not telling you to accept abuse or injustice. It's not suggesting you be passive in the face of wrongdoing. What it's saying is that you can stand up for yourself, you can work for change, you can take action, you can pursue your goals, all without the burden of stress. You can be fully engaged in life without being attached to outcomes. You can care deeply without being consumed by anxiety. This is what true freedom looks like. It's not freedom from challenges. It's not freedom from responsibilities. It's freedom from the tyranny of your own worried thoughts. It's freedom from the prison of stress that you've built in your own mind. And here's the beautiful part. The moment you stop stressing, the moment you really let go and trust, things start to shift. Not because you're magically controlling reality, but because you're finally getting out of your own way. You're allowing the infinite intelligence of the universe to work through you instead of constantly blocking it with your anxious interference. I've seen this happen over and over again in my own life and in the lives of countless others. The moment you surrender, the moment you stop trying to force things, the moment you release your white-knuckle grip on how you think things should be, solutions appear, doors open, opportunities arise, help shows up, not always in the way you expected, and not always on your timeline, but always in perfect timing. That's what faith really means. Not blind belief in some distant deity. Not hoping that some external force will magically fix your problems, but trusting that the same intelligence that created you, that sustains you, that breathes you is fully capable of guiding you through whatever challenges you face. And that trust, that faith, that surrender is the antidote to stress. You know what's interesting? We stress about things we can't control and neglect the one thing we can control, our state of being. We can't control the economy, but we can control our response to financial challenges. We can't control other people, but we can control how we relate to them. We can't control the past, but we can control what meaning we assign to it. We can't control the future, but we can control the quality of our present moment. And when you really focus on what you can control, which is your inner state, everything else starts to fall into place. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're finally in alignment with the way life actually works. God's message to not stress is really an invitation to come home to yourself, to come home to peace, to come home to the present moment where life actually happens, because you've been living in exile, in the distant lands of past and future, in the foreign territory of what if and if only. And all the while, home has been right here, in this moment, in this breath, in this space of stillness within you. The stress you feel is homesickness. It's the soul's longing for alignment with Source. It's the quiet voice beneath all the noise saying, there's another way. There's peace available. There's trust possible. There's surrender waiting. And every time you choose peace over stress, you're answering that call. You're coming home. Now let me be practical for a moment. How do you actually do this? How do you stop stressing when you've been doing it for so long it feels like second nature? The answer is simpler than you might think, but it requires practice. First, you have to catch yourself in the act of stressing. You have to become aware that you're doing it. Because most of the time, stress is so habitual that we don't even notice we're engaged in it. So, start paying attention. Notice when your shoulders tense up. Notice when your jaw clenches. Notice when your breathing becomes shallow. Notice when your mind starts spinning stories about all the terrible things that could happen. When you catch yourself stressing, don't judge it. Don't stress about stressing. Just notice it. And then ask yourself one simple question. Is this thought helpful? Most of the time the answer will be no. The thought isn't helping you. It's just torturing you. It's just creating suffering where none needs to exist. Once you realize the thought isn't helpful, you can choose a different one. Not a fake positive thought that you don't believe, but simply a more peaceful perspective. Instead of everything is falling apart, try, I'm going through a challenging time and I have the strength to handle it. Instead of, what if this terrible thing happens? Try, I'll deal with whatever comes when it comes. Instead of, I can't handle this, try, I've handled everything so far and I'm still here. This isn't about denying reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about relating to reality from a place of peace rather than panic. It's about acknowledging challenges without adding the extra layer of stress on top of them. The second practice is breath. Sounds too simple, right? But your breath is the bridge between your body and mind, between your conscious and unconscious, between you and the divine. When you're stressed, your breath becomes shallow and rapid. When you're peaceful, your breath is slow and full. But here's the magic. You can use your breath to shift your state. When you feel stress rising, stop and take 3 slow, full breaths. Breathe in peace. Breathe out stress. Breathe in trust. Breathe out fear. Breathe in the present moment. Breathe out the worried thoughts. The third practice is gratitude. Stress and gratitude cannot coexist in the same moment. It's physiologically impossible. When you're genuinely feeling grateful, stress dissolves. So when you notice yourself spiraling into stress, stop and find 3 things you're grateful for right now. Not things you should be grateful for, but things you actually feel appreciation for in this moment. Maybe it's the warmth of the sun on your skin. Maybe it's the roof over your head. Maybe it's the fact that you're breathing. It doesn't matter how big or small. What matters is the genuine feeling of appreciation. The fourth practice is surrender. This is the big one. This is where the real transformation happens. Surrender means you do everything you can do, and then you let go of the results. It means you take action without attachment to outcome. It means you release your need to control and trust that the universe has your back. Surrender is not giving up. It's giving in to the flow of life. It's saying yes to what is, even when what is isn't what you wanted. It's trusting that even when things don't go according to your plan, they're unfolding, according to a larger intelligence that you can't always see or understand. This is what the divine has been trying to tell you all along. Stop fighting. Stop resisting. Stop trying to control everything. Flow with life, not against it. Trust the process. Have faith in the journey. Believe that you're being guided, even when you can't see where you're going. You see, stress comes from the belief that you're separate and alone, that you have to figure everything out by yourself, that if you don't worry and control and force things to happen, they won't happen. But that's the illusion. The truth is, you're never alone. You're always connected to Source. You're always being guided. You're always supported by an infinite intelligence that loves you and wants the highest good for you. When you really get this, when you really feel it in your bones, stress becomes impossible. Not because your life becomes perfect or challenge-free, but because you know that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. You know that you have everything you need within you to handle whatever comes. You know that the universe is not against you, but for you. This is the peace that passes understanding. This is the trust that transcends circumstances. This is the faith that moves mountains. And it's available to you right now. Not when your problems are solved. Not when your circumstances improve. Not when you finally get your act together. Right now, in this moment, just as you are. The divine doesn't care about your accomplishments. It doesn't care about your bank account or your job title or your social status. It cares about your alignment with love, with peace, with truth. And every moment you spend in stress is a moment you're out of alignment. Every moment you choose peace is a moment you're coming back home to who you really are. You are not your stress. You are not your worried thoughts. You are not your anxious feelings. Those are just clouds passing through the sky of your awareness. But you are the sky. You are the awareness itself. You are the peaceful presence that exists beneath all the mental noise. You are the eternal witness that watches the drama of life without being consumed by it. When you identify with your true nature instead of your temporary thoughts and feelings, stress loses its power over you. You can watch your mind spin its worried stories without believing them. You can feel anxiety arise without identifying with it. You can acknowledge challenges without being overwhelmed by them. This is spiritual maturity. This is what it means to be awake. This is the freedom that every spiritual tradition points toward. And the gateway to it is simply letting go of stress, choosing peace, trusting life, surrendering control. Now, I want you to understand something crucial. This is not something you do once and you're done. This is a practice. This is a daily, moment-by-moment choice. Because your mind has been conditioned for years, maybe decades, to stress. It's going to take time to retrain it. It's going to take patience with yourself. It's going to take commitment to choosing peace again and again, even when stress feels more familiar. But every time you choose peace, you're strengthening that neural pathway. Every time you let go, you're making it easier to let go next time. Every time you trust, you're building your trust muscle. And eventually, peace becomes your default instead of stress. Surrender becomes natural instead of forced. Trust becomes automatic instead of a struggle. This is the transformation that's available to you. This is what happens when you finally listen to what God has been telling you all along. Stop stressing. Let go. Trust. Flow. Be at peace. And the beautiful irony is that when you stop trying to control everything, when you release the stress and choose peace, your life actually works better. Things flow more smoothly. Solutions appear more easily. Relationships improve. Health returns. Joy bubbles up. Creativity flourishes. Not because you're forcing anything, but because you're finally getting out of the way and letting life move through you. This is how you were meant to live. Not in constant stress and struggle, but in peace and flow. Not fighting against life, but dancing with it. Not white-knuckling your way through each day, but moving gracefully through whatever comes. You are supported, you are guided, you are loved. The entire universe is conspiring on your behalf. But you have to let it. You have to stop blocking the blessings with your stress. You have to open your hands and release the death grip you have on trying to control everything. When you do, when you really surrender, you'll discover something amazing. The things you were stressing about either work out on their own, or they don't matter as much as you thought they did, or they lead to something even better than you could have planned. Because the universe has a bigger vision for your life than you do. It sees possibilities you can't see. It knows connections you don't know. It's orchestrating synchronicities you're not aware of. Your job is not to figure it all out. Your job is not to worry it into existence. Your job is to show up, do your part, and trust the process. That's it. That's all that's required of you. Show up with your best effort, contribute what you can contribute, and then let go of the results. This is the divine partnership. You do your part, and the universe does its part. But when you stress, you're trying to do both parts. You're trying to be both the actor and the director of your life. And it's exhausting, and it doesn't work. Because you can't see the whole play, you can only see your scene. The universe sees the entire production, and it's orchestrating everything perfectly. So relax, breathe, trust. Know that you are exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you need to become. Even the challenges, especially the challenges, are part of your perfect unfolding. Stress tells you that something is wrong. Peace reminds you that everything is happening for you, not to you. Stress says you're behind, you're not enough, you need to do more, be more, have more. Peace says you're right on time, you're enough right now, and everything you need will come when you need it. Which voice will you listen to? Which message will you align with? The choice is yours in every moment, and it's the most important choice you'll ever make. Because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your inner state, not your outer circumstances. You can have everything the world says you should want and still be miserable if you're choosing stress. Or you can have very little and be deeply fulfilled if you're choosing peace. The external world is neutral. It's your internal response that creates your experience. So change your response. Choose differently when stress arises, and it will meet it with awareness. Thank it for trying to protect you, because that's what it thinks it's doing. And then gently redirect your attention to peace, to trust, to surrender, to the present moment where everything is actually okay. Do this again and again and again. Make it your practice, make it your priority, make it your path. Because this is not just about feeling better, though you will feel better. This is about aligning with truth. This is about living in harmony with the way life actually works. This is about coming into partnership with the divine intelligence that created you and sustains you. And when you do this, when you really commit to choosing peace over stress, something miraculous happens. Your entire life begins to transform. Not because you're trying to make it transform, but because you're finally in alignment with the transformative power that's been there all along, waiting for you to get out of the way. This is your invitation. This is your calling. This is what you came here to learn and to be. A peaceful presence in a chaotic world. A trusting soul in a fearful time. A surrendered being in a controlling culture. The world needs your peace. It needs you to stop stressing and start trusting. It needs you to be the example of what's possible when you align with the divine message. Because your peace is contagious. Your trust is inspiring. Your surrender is revolutionary. So hear it now, really hear it. God says to not stress. The universe whispers, let go. Your soul knows, peace is your natural state. Your heart understands, trust is the answer. And in this moment, right here, right now, you can choose it. Choose peace, choose trust, choose surrender. Choose the message that's been offered to you since the beginning of time. Stop stressing, start living, start flowing, start being who you really are underneath all the worry and fear. You are peace itself pretending to be stressed. You are trust itself pretending to doubt. You are divine love itself pretending to be afraid. But the pretending can stop now. The act can end now. The truth can be revealed now. You don't need to stress. You never did. You just thought you did, because everyone around you was doing it. But you're awake now. You know better now. You can choose differently now. And when you do, when you really release the burden of stress and step into the freedom of peace, you'll wonder why you carried that weight for so long. You'll marvel at how simple it is to just let go and trust. You'll laugh at how seriously you took it all, how much energy you wasted trying to control the uncontrollable. But don't judge yourself for it. You were doing the best you could with the awareness you had. Now you have new awareness. Now you have a different choice. Now you can walk a different path. The path of peace, the path of trust, the path of surrender, the path of alignment with the divine message that says, stop stressing. I've got this. You're safe. You're loved. You're supported. Everything is working out for your highest good. Relax into that knowing. Rest in that truth. Live from that place. This is freedom. This is joy. This is what you've been searching for all along. Not in some future accomplishment or external acquisition, but right here, right now, in the simple choice to not stress, to trust instead, to surrender and allow life to unfold as it will. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to peace. Welcome home to the truth of who you are. And from this place, live your life. Not perfectly, but peacefully. Not without challenges, but without stress. Not knowing all the answers, but trusting in the process. This is enough. You are enough. This moment is enough. Let go of everything else. Be here now. Be at peace. And watch how your life transforms when you finally stop fighting and start flowing with the river of existence that's been carrying you all along, waiting for you to relax and enjoy the ride. There's something I want you to understand right now, in this very moment. Everything that has ever happened to you, every single experience, every challenge, every seeming setback, every moment of confusion or doubt has been working in your favor. You might not see it yet. You might be sitting there thinking about all the things that went wrong, all the plans that fell apart, all the dreams that seemed to crumble right before your eyes. But I'm telling you with absolute certainty that when you shift the way you look at things, the things you look at shift. Acting as if everything always works out for you isn't about lying to yourself. It's not about pretending that difficulties don't exist or that life doesn't present challenges. It's about understanding a fundamental truth about the universe and your place in it. It's about recognizing that you are not a victim of circumstances, but rather a co-creator of your reality. The moment you begin to act as if everything is conspiring in your favor, something miraculous happens. The universe begins to rearrange itself to match your expectations. Let me tell you what I mean by this. When you wake up in the morning and you automatically assume that things are going to go wrong, what happens? You find evidence everywhere to support that belief. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you say, see, I knew today was going to be terrible. Your coffee spills, and you think, why does this always happen to me? You're looking for confirmation of your belief, and the universe is happy to provide it. But here's the thing, the same mechanism works in reverse. When you act as if everything is working out perfectly for you, you start to notice all the ways in which life is supporting you. You see the opportunities instead of the obstacles. You recognize the blessings instead of the burdens. This isn't positive thinking in the shallow sense. This goes much deeper than that. This is about understanding that your thoughts create your reality. Not in some mystical, magical way, but in a very practical, observable way. Your thoughts determine your perception, and your perception determines your experience. If you believe that life is hard and that you have to struggle for everything, then that will be your experience. If you believe that the universe is abundant and that good things flow to you naturally, then that will be your experience. I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking about the real problems you face, the bills that need to be paid, the relationships that are struggling, the health issues you're dealing with, the dreams that seem so far away, and you're wondering how acting as if everything works out could possibly help with any of that. But that's exactly where the power lies. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you stop resisting what is, you stop fighting against reality, and when you stop resisting, you open yourself up to solutions that were there all along, but you couldn't see them because you were too busy being afraid. Fear is the great obstacle. Fear tells you that you need to control everything. Fear tells you that if you don't worry about it, it won't get handled. Fear tells you that optimism is naive and that you need to be realistic. But what fear doesn't tell you is that it's keeping you stuck in the very situations you're trying to escape from. When you operate from fear, you make decisions from a place of lack. You attract more of what you don't want because you're focused on what you don't want. You create a self-fulfilling prophecy of struggle and hardship. Acting as if everything always works out for you is an act of faith, but it's also an act of intelligence. It's intelligent because it allows you to tap into your highest potential. When you're not weighted down by fear and anxiety, your mind works better. You think more clearly. You're more creative. You see possibilities that were invisible to you before. You take actions that are aligned with your desires rather than your fears, and those actions lead to different results. Let me share something with you about trust. Trust is not believing that everything will turn out exactly the way you want it to. Trust is knowing that however things turn out, you'll be okay. Trust is understanding that sometimes what looks like a disaster is actually a doorway to something better. How many times in your life has something not worked out the way you wanted, only to realize later that it was the best thing that could have happened? That relationship that ended opened the door for you to meet someone who was a much better match. That job you didn't get led you to a career path you never would have considered otherwise. That health crisis forced you to make changes that improved your life in ways you never expected. The universe has an intelligence that's far greater than your individual ego mind. Your ego thinks it knows what's best for you. It has a plan, and it wants everything to go according to that plan. But the universe sees the bigger picture. It knows what you truly need, not just what you think you want. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're acknowledging this greater intelligence. You're saying, I trust that there's a wisdom at work here that's beyond my limited understanding, and that trust allows you to relax into life instead of constantly fighting against it. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Acting as if everything always works out for you doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you sit around and wait for good things to happen. It means you take inspired action. You move forward with confidence, knowing that your actions are supported by the universe. You do your part, and then you trust that the universe will do its part. You plant the seeds, you water them, you give them sunlight, and then you trust that they will grow. You don't dig them up every day to check on them. You don't worry and fret about whether they're growing fast enough. You trust the process. This is where so many people get stuck. They want to control every aspect of the outcome. They want to know exactly how things are going to unfold and exactly when, but that's not how life works. Life is a mystery. It's meant to unfold in ways that surprise and delight us. When you try to control everything, you squeeze out all the magic. You leave no room for serendipity, for synchronicity, for those miraculous moments when the universe delivers something even better than what you had planned. I've learned over the years that the more you try to force things, the more they resist you. But when you relax and allow, when you act as if everything is working out perfectly, things flow. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. People show up in your life at exactly the right moment. Resources appear when you need them. It's not magic, although it can feel magical. It's alignment. When you align your thoughts, your beliefs, and your expectations with the abundant nature of the universe, you tap into a flow that's always been there, waiting for you to notice it. Let me tell you about the power of assumption. Whatever you assume to be true becomes true in your experience. If you assume that people are generally good and trustworthy, you'll have experiences that confirm that belief. If you assume that people are out to get you, you'll have experiences that confirm that belief too. Both assumptions create a self-reinforcing cycle. But here's what's really interesting. You get to choose which assumption you make. You get to decide whether you're going to assume the best or assume the worst. And acting as if everything always works out for you is simply choosing to assume the best. Some people think this is naive. They think it's important to be prepared for the worst. But let me ask you something. Has worrying about the worst-case scenario ever actually prevented it from happening? Has anxiety ever solved a single problem? Or has it just made you miserable while you waited to see what would happen? The truth is, worrying doesn't protect you. It doesn't prepare you. It just depletes your energy and robs you of your peace of mind. Acting as if everything works out for you, on the other hand, gives you energy. It fills you with confidence and optimism. And that positive energy actually does help you handle whatever comes your way. Think about a time when you were facing a challenge, but you felt confident that you could handle it. Maybe you didn't know exactly how you were going to handle it, but you just had this inner knowing that you would figure it out. How did that feel? Didn't it feel so much better than being paralyzed by fear and doubt? And didn't that confidence actually help you find solutions? That's what I'm talking about. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you tap into that confidence. You access your inner resources. You become solution-oriented instead of problem-focused. The beautiful thing about this approach to life is that it becomes easier the more you practice it. At first, it might feel like you're faking it. You might have to consciously remind yourself to act as if things are working out. You might catch yourself falling into old patterns of worry and doubt. But every time you catch yourself and choose a different thought, you're rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways. You're training yourself to default to trust instead of fear. And over time, it becomes more natural. It becomes who you are. I want you to understand something about your past. Whatever has happened to you in the past, whatever mistakes you've made, whatever traumas you've experienced, they don't have to define your future. The past is over. It's done. The only power it has over you is the power you give it through your thoughts. When you keep replaying old hurts and disappointments, you're keeping them alive. You're recreating them in your present moment. But when you act as if everything always works out for you, you're making a different choice. You're choosing to focus on possibility instead of limitation. You're choosing to let go of the story that says you're damaged or unlucky or destined to struggle. Let me tell you something about your story. You are the author of your life story. You get to decide what it means. You can interpret your past experiences as evidence that life is hard and unfair, or you can interpret them as lessons that have made you stronger and wiser. Both interpretations are valid. Both are true in their own way, but only one of them serves you. Only one of them empowers you to create a better future. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're choosing the interpretation that serves you. You're choosing to see yourself as someone who overcomes challenges, who learns and grows, who becomes more through every experience. Now, I know that some of you have experienced real trauma, real pain, real loss, and I'm not suggesting that you should just gloss over that or pretend it didn't happen. What I'm suggesting is that you don't have to let those experiences define you. You don't have to carry them around like a heavy burden for the rest of your life. You can acknowledge what happened, you can feel your feelings about it, and then you can make a choice about how you're going to move forward. You can choose to act as if, despite everything that's happened, life is still working out for you. You can choose to believe that even the painful experiences have served a purpose in your growth and evolution. There's a principle in physics that says energy flows where attention goes. Whatever you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, you'll see more problems. If you focus on solutions, you'll find more solutions. If you focus on what's wrong with your life, that's what will dominate your experience. But if you focus on what's working, on what's good, on what's possible, that will expand instead. Acting as if everything always works out for you is a way of directing your attention toward what you want to experience more of. It's a way of training your mind to look for the positive, to seek out the good, to notice the ways in which life is supporting you. This doesn't mean you ignore real problems or challenges. It means you approach them from a different mindset. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of thinking this is terrible, you think, how can I use this for my growth? Instead of feeling like a victim, you recognize yourself as a powerful creator who is fully capable of handling whatever comes your way. This shift in perspective changes everything. It changes how you feel, what actions you take, and ultimately what results you create. Let me tell you about the nature of the universe. The universe is not random. It's not chaotic. There's an order to it, an intelligence that permeates everything. Some people call it God, some call it Source, some call it the Tao or universal consciousness. The name doesn't matter. What matters is understanding that you are part of this intelligence. You're not separate from it. You're an expression of it. And because you're an expression of this universal intelligence, you have the same creative power within you. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're aligning yourself with this creative power. You're working with the universe instead of against it. Think about nature for a moment. Everything in nature trusts the process. The acorn doesn't worry about whether it will become an oak tree. It just grows. The caterpillar doesn't doubt that it will become a butterfly. It just transforms. The seasons don't question whether they should change. They just flow from one to the next. Everything in nature operates on trust, on an innate knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And you are part of nature. You have that same innate wisdom within you. But somewhere along the way, you learn to override it with doubt and fear. Acting as if everything always works out for you is a way of reconnecting with that innate wisdom. It's a way of coming back into alignment with your true nature. I want to talk to you about gratitude for a moment, because gratitude and trust go hand in hand. When you're grateful for what is, you're acknowledging that things are working out for you. You're recognizing the abundance that's already present in your life. And that recognition creates more to be grateful for. Gratitude is a powerful magnet for good things. When you focus on what you appreciate, you attract more experiences that make you feel appreciative. It's a beautiful, self-reinforcing cycle. But it starts with a choice. It starts with deciding to notice what's good instead of fixating on what's lacking. Acting as if everything always works out for you includes being grateful for challenges, because challenges make you stronger. It includes being grateful for disappointments, because disappointments redirect you toward better paths. It includes being grateful for the times when things didn't go according to your plan, because those times taught you flexibility and resilience. When you can find gratitude even in difficulty, you've mastered the art of trusting life. You've understood that it's all working for your benefit, even when it doesn't feel that way in the moment. Let me share something with you about expectations. Your expectations shape your reality in profound ways. If you expect people to disappoint you, they usually will. If you expect opportunities to pass you by, they usually do. But if you expect good things to happen, if you expect people to be kind, if you expect opportunities to come your way, that becomes your experience instead. This isn't because the universe is magically giving you what you expect. It's because your expectations determine what you notice and how you interpret what happens. They also influence your behavior in subtle ways that create self-fulfilling prophecies. When you expect things to work out, you take different actions than when you expect them to fail. You show up differently. You communicate differently. You're more open, more receptive, more willing to take chances. And that openness creates opportunities. Acting as if everything always works out for you is a way of setting a positive expectation. It's a way of priming yourself for success. It's like telling the universe, I'm ready to receive good things. I'm open to miracles. I trust that you've got my back. And when you send out that message, the universe responds. Now, I want to address something that might be coming up for some of you. You might be thinking, but what if I act as if everything works out and then something goes wrong? Won't I be disappointed? And my answer is this. Disappointment comes from rigid attachment to specific outcomes. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're not attached to things happening in a particular way. You're trusting that whatever happens is ultimately for your highest good. So even if something doesn't go the way you hoped, you can still maintain your trust. You can still know that it's working out, even if you can't see how yet. This is about developing a long-term perspective. In the short term, something might look like a failure or a setback, but in the long term, it might be exactly what you needed. The job rejection that felt devastating might have saved you from a toxic work environment. The relationship that ended might have freed you to meet your true partner. The business that failed might have taught you lessons that made your next venture successful. You can't always see the value in the moment, but when you trust that everything is working out, you give yourself permission to wait for the bigger picture to reveal itself. Let me tell you about resistance. Resistance is what happens when you fight against what is. It's the mental and emotional struggle that comes from wanting things to be different than they are. And resistance is exhausting. It drains your energy, it keeps you stuck. Acting as if everything always works out for you is the opposite of resistance. It's acceptance, it's surrender. Not the kind of surrender that means giving up, but the kind that means letting go of the need to control. When you surrender in this way, when you accept what is and trust that it's working out for you, you free up enormous amounts of energy. Energy that you can then use to create, to grow, to take inspired action. Think about water for a moment. Water doesn't resist. When it encounters an obstacle, it flows around it. It finds a way. It doesn't struggle or fight. It just adapts and keeps moving. And eventually, that soft, flowing water can wear down the hardest stone. That's the power of non-resistance. That's what happens when you act as if everything always works out for you. You stop banging your head against walls. You stop trying to force things. You become like water, adapting, flowing, trusting that you'll find your way. I want you to understand something about your worthiness. You don't have to earn the right to have things work out for you. You don't have to be perfect or do everything right or prove yourself in any way. Things working out for you is your natural state. It's your birthright. You are a beloved child of the universe, and the universe wants good things for you. Not because you've earned it, but because that's the nature of the universe. It's abundant, it's generous, it's always creating, always expanding, always moving toward more life, more love, more beauty, more goodness. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you're not being arrogant or entitled. You're simply acknowledging your true nature as a creator, as a being of infinite worth and potential. You're stepping into the truth of who you are. And from that place of knowing your worth, from that place of trusting that you deserve good things, you naturally attract better experiences. You make better choices. You tolerate less nonsense. You set better boundaries. You pursue your dreams with more conviction. Everything shifts when you know, really know, that you are worthy of having things work out for you. Let me talk to you about failure for a moment, because the fear of failure stops so many people from acting as if everything works out. They're afraid that if they trust and then things don't work out, they'll have been foolish. They'll have been naive. They'll have set themselves up for disappointment. But here's the truth about failure. There's no such thing. There are only outcomes. Some outcomes teach you what works, and some teach you what doesn't work. Both are valuable. Both move you forward. The only real failure is not trying, not learning, not growing. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you reframe what failure means. It's not a catastrophe. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's just feedback. It's information. It's the universe saying, not that way. Try this way instead. And when you can see failure as feedback rather than as a judgment, you become unstoppable. You try things. You take risks. You put yourself out there. And yes, sometimes things don't work out the way you planned. But you learn from those experiences, you adjust, and you keep moving forward. And that's how success is built, through a series of attempts, adjustments, and forward movement, all supported by the underlying trust that it's all working out for you. Now, I want to address the practical side of this. How do you actually act as if everything always works out for you? What does that look like in daily life? It starts with your thoughts. It starts with noticing when you're in fear or doubt and consciously choosing a different thought. When you catch yourself thinking, this is never going to work, you stop and say, actually, I choose to believe that this is working out perfectly. When you notice yourself worrying about the future, you bring yourself back to the present moment and remind yourself that right now, in this moment, you're okay, everything is okay, and you can trust that it will continue to be okay. It also means watching your language. The words you use shape your reality. If you're constantly saying things like, nothing ever works out for me, or I always get the short end of the stick, or life is so hard, you're reinforcing those beliefs. But if you start saying things like, things always work out for me, or I'm so lucky, or life supports me, you'll start to notice evidence that supports those statements instead. Your language creates your experience, so choose your words carefully. Acting as if everything always works out for you also means taking action even when you're not sure of the outcome. It means saying yes to opportunities that scare you a little bit. It means putting yourself out there even when there's no guarantee of success. It means trusting that even if things don't go exactly as planned, you'll handle it. You'll learn from it. You'll find a way. And that trust gives you the courage to take risks, to be bold, to live fully instead of playing it safe. Let me tell you something about miracles. Miracles aren't violations of natural law. They're expressions of a higher law that we don't fully understand yet. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you open yourself up to miracles. You create space for the unexpected, for the amazing, for the things that can't be explained by logic alone. I've seen it happen countless times. Someone is facing what seems like an impossible situation, but they maintain their trust. They keep acting as if it's all working out. And then something happens. An opportunity appears out of nowhere. A person shows up with exactly what they need. A solution presents itself that they never would have thought of. That's not luck, that's alignment. That's what happens when you're in the flow. I want to talk to you about the present moment, because this is really the only moment that matters. The past is gone. The future hasn't happened yet. All you ever have is right now. And when you act as if everything always works out for you, you bring that trust into this present moment. You don't spend your now worrying about tomorrow. You don't waste your now regretting yesterday. You're fully here, fully present, fully engaged with life as it's happening, and that presence is powerful. It allows you to respond to what's actually happening rather than reacting to what you think might happen or what you wish had happened. When you're present, you notice things you would otherwise miss. You see opportunities. You feel intuitive nudges. You make better decisions. You're more creative. You're more connected to others. You're more alive. And all of that contributes to things working out for you. Because when you're present and alert and open, you're in the best possible position to co-create with the universe. You're not lost in the past or future. You're right here, right now, available for whatever wants to come through you or to you. Let me share something with you about other people. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you inspire others. Your energy is contagious. People feel it. They're drawn to it. They want to be around you because you make them feel hopeful and alive. And that creates a positive feedback loop. The more you trust, the more you attract people and circumstances that validate that trust. You become a magnet for good things, not through manipulation or force, but through the simple power of your expectations and your energy. But here's something important. You can't control other people. You can only control yourself. Sometimes acting as if everything works out for you means letting go of people who don't align with your vision. It means walking away from situations that drain you. It means setting boundaries. It means choosing yourself even when it's hard. Because trusting that things work out for you includes trusting that you'll be guided to the right people and circumstances and away from the wrong ones. It includes trusting that sometimes what looks like a loss is actually a necessary clearing, making space for something better. I want to talk to you about patience. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you develop patience. Not the kind of patience that's really just resignation or passive waiting, but the kind of patience that comes from deep trust. You know things are working out, so you don't need to force them or rush them. You can allow things to unfold in their own time. You understand that there's a gestation period for dreams, just like there's a gestation period for a baby. You can't rush it. You can't force it. You can only trust the process and do your part while the universe does its part. This patience is incredibly freeing. It takes the pressure off. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. You don't have to have achieved all your goals by a certain age. You don't have to compare your timeline to anyone else's. You can relax into the knowing that everything is happening in perfect timing. What's meant for you will come to you. Not necessarily when you want it, but exactly when you're ready for it. And acting as if everything always works out includes trusting that timing. Let me tell you about the power of questions. The questions you ask yourself determine what you focus on and what answers you find. If you ask yourself, why does this always happen to me? You'll find reasons to feel victimized. If you ask yourself, what's wrong with me? You'll find flaws. But if you ask yourself, how is this working out for me? Or what can I learn from this? Or where's the gift in this situation? You'll find different answers. You'll find empowering answers. You'll find answers that help you grow and move forward. Acting as if everything always works out for you includes asking better questions. It includes approaching life with curiosity rather than judgment. Instead of immediately deciding that something is bad or wrong, you ask, what if this is actually perfect? What if this is exactly what I need right now? That simple shift in questioning can reveal insights that were hidden when you were stuck in judgment and resistance. Now, I want to address something that's really important. Acting as if everything always works out for you doesn't mean you never feel negative emotions. It doesn't mean you're always happy and positive. That's not realistic and it's not healthy. What it means is that you don't get stuck in negative emotions. You feel them, you acknowledge them, and then you come back to trust. You might feel disappointed when something doesn't go the way you wanted, but Underneath that disappointment, there's still a fundamental trust that it's all working out. You might feel afraid when you're facing uncertainty, but you don't let that fear stop you. You feel it and you move forward anyway, trusting that you'll be okay no matter what happens. This is emotional maturity. It's the ability to hold multiple truths at once. Yes, this situation is challenging, and yes, it's working out for me. Yes, I'm disappointed, and yes, I trust the process. Yes, I don't know what's going to happen, and yes, I believe it will be good. That's the kind of thinking that allows you to navigate life with grace and ease. That's what acting as if everything always works out looks like in practice. Let me tell you about the ripple effect of your trust. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you don't just change your own life, you change the lives of everyone around you. Your children learn to trust life by watching you trust life. Your friends gain courage from your courage. Your colleagues are inspired by your attitude. You become a beacon of hope in a world that often feels dark and uncertain. And that matters more than you know. Every person who learns to trust life creates a ripple effect that touches countless others. Think about the kind of world we could create if more people acted as if everything always works out for them. Think about how different things would be if people made decisions from trust instead of fear. If they took risks instead of playing it safe. If they treated each other with kindness because they believed there was enough for everyone. If they pursued their dreams with the confidence that they were supported by the universe. That's the world that's possible. And it starts with you. It starts with your decision to trust, to act as if, to believe that life is on your side. I want to remind you of something crucial. You are not your thoughts. You are not your circumstances. You are the awareness behind all of that. You are the one who observes your thoughts and chooses which ones to believe. You are the one who experiences circumstances and chooses what they mean. When you understand this, when you really get that you are the creator of your experience, everything changes. You realize that you have power. Not power over external events necessarily, but power over how you respond to them, power over what you focus on, power over the meaning you assign to things. And that power is everything. Acting as if everything always works out for you is an exercise of that power. It's you saying, I choose to interpret my life in a way that empowers me. I choose to believe in possibility rather than limitation. I choose to trust rather than fear. And every time you make that choice, you strengthen that power, you build that muscle. You become more and more the conscious creator of your reality. Let me talk to you about joy. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you become more joyful. Not because your circumstances are perfect, but because you're not in resistance to them. Joy isn't happiness dependent on conditions. Joy is a state of being that comes from alignment with your true nature. It's what emerges when you're not fighting with reality, when you're not consumed by worry, when you're not living in fear. It's your natural state. And acting as if everything works out clears away all the mental and emotional clutter that blocks your joy. It allows you to access that deeper state of well-being that's always there, underneath all the noise. And here's something beautiful. When you're joyful, you're more magnetic. You attract better things. You make better decisions. You're more creative and resourceful. You're healthier. Your relationships improve. Everything gets better when you're in a state of joy. So acting as if everything works out for you isn't just a nice idea. It's a practical strategy for creating a better life. It's one of the most intelligent things you can do. I want you to understand something about deserving. You might have been taught that you have to work hard to deserve good things. You might believe that suffering is noble or that struggle builds character. And while it's true that challenges can make you stronger, it's not true that you have to suffer to be worthy. You are worthy simply because you exist. You are a unique expression of the universe, and there will never be another you. That alone makes you infinitely valuable. You don't have to earn the right to have things work out for you. It's already yours. It's already been given. You just have to accept it. You just have to act as if you believe it. Let me tell you about surrender one more time because it's so important. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in to the flow of life. It means stopping your struggle against what is and allowing yourself to be carried by a current that's much more powerful than you are. Think about swimming in the ocean. If you fight against the waves, you exhaust yourself. But if you relax and let the water support you, you can float effortlessly. That's what surrender feels like. That's what acting as if everything works out feels like. It's a release of tension, a softening, a letting go. And in that surrender, you find your true strength. Because you're no longer wasting energy on resistance. You're no longer depleting yourself with worry and doubt. Instead, you're aligned with the creative power of the universe. You're working with it, not against it. And that alignment gives you access to resources you didn't know you had. Solutions appear, doors open, help arrives, not because you're forcing it, but because you're allowing it. I want to leave you with this final thought. Your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not someday when conditions are perfect, but right now. And every moment is a choice. You can choose to live in fear, or you can choose to live in trust. You can choose to see yourself as a victim of circumstances, or you can choose to see yourself as a powerful creator. You can choose to focus on what's wrong, or you can choose to focus on what's possible. And when you choose trust, when you act as if everything always works out for you, your entire life transforms. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. It's something you return to again and again, especially when things get hard. But every time you choose trust over fear, you're building a new way of being. You're creating new neural pathways. You're establishing a new baseline. And over time, trust becomes your default. It becomes who you are. And from that place of trust, anything is possible. Miracles become ordinary. Dreams become reality. And life becomes the adventure it was always meant to be. So start today. Start right now. Look at whatever situation you're facing and ask yourself, what if this is working out perfectly for me? What if this is exactly what I need? And then act as if that's true. Make decisions from that place. Move forward from that place. Live from that place. And watch what happens. Watch how your life transforms when you trust it. Watch how the universe responds when you believe in it. Watch how you become when you remember who you really are, a powerful, creative, beloved being who is fully supported by all of life. Everything is always working out for you. It always has been. It always will be. The question is, will you act as if you believe it? Will you trust it? Will you let go of resistance and surrender to the flow? The choice is yours, and it's the most important choice you'll ever make. Choose trust. Choose faith. Choose to act as if everything always works out for you, and then watch the magic unfold.